Islam Morris. This assistant Tahida Najee-Ullah of Califa Media, Olio Moore Science Temple, California, Incorporated. Today is August 20th, 2014, and I guess this is part 2 of my MoorBiz series, or the Califa Media's MoorBiz series. And this series is starting out with nonprofit. And again, if you watch the first video, it's from a Moorish perspective. Okay. I've read a lot of books on this. I've set up a few corporations. Um, it's my first nonprofit that I'm setting up, and it's turning out to be a lot easier than the other sorts of corporations I've set up in the past. So I'm happy about that. Um, that doesn't mean I'm any less careful in the process. Anyway, I'm in California at this time. So apparently California is its own special little monster. So readers are leaders. So when I don't know, I consult my favorite friend and resource, the library. Right? So I went to the library. This was some years back, but I did it recently too. Went to the library and I just looked up nonprofit books. And NOLO, if you're familiar with NOLO, it's a legal assistance publication company. Anthony Mancuso, I guess he's a former attorney. He put out a ton of books on different ways to handle your own legal issues. And this one was How to Form a Nonprofit Corporation. And that's the one I had everywhere else. I get to California and they have their own book. So I had to go and get the Nonprofit California. What is this? NOLO's 15th edition of How to Form a Nonprofit Corporation in California. Okay. It's not too much different from the other nonprofits that I've read about. I didn't have the opportunity to set them up yet, which actually is the reason for this video. So that this video is to introduce some basics. Okay, so before you even start going down that road to set up your own nonprofit, you should probably watch this video to see just get some basic definitions to make sure you know what you're talking about. So then when you ask someone for assistance, you'll be able to ask them directly, and you won't look silly and or be taken advantage of. Okay. So a few definitions. My book, this notebook. Articles of incorporation. Okay. I like to think of the articles of incorporation as the birth certificate for your corporation. Okay. It lists the informant, in this case the incorporated. It lists what day it was born, what's the name of it, what are the names of the informants. It works a whole lot like if you ever had children, the form to fill out a birth certificate. It pretty much is. When it comes to a nonprofit corporation, again, I'm going off of what I'm experiencing and having success with in California. It's a form. It's a one-page form, $30. Add an additional $5 if you want to certify it, which I suggest, because down the line you may need a certified copy. You might as well just get it out of the way when you file your initial articles. And like I said, this is specific to California. As I go along, I'll probably be adding to it as I look into the other states. The next one is the statement of information. Okay? In California, the statement of information asks you specifics that weren't requested on your form or articles of incorporation. Most states, okay, now have formed corporations, and I'm looking at what they want you to do and comparing it to what I've done in the past. And basically, like I said, this is California. The articles of incorporation and the statement of information in California is just the articles of incorporation in other states that I've worked on. Okay, your state may act like California, where it's two separate documents. So basically, the statement of information asks you for who are your officers. Okay, they want you to list 3 officers in California. Your chairman or president or CEO, secretary, and chief financial officer. Okay. If you have a template set up, this is so easy because you already have those people in place, probably doing that work. This is just setting up that stick so you can deal with the fraud that's occupying our land. Okay. Next definition I want to cover is tax exempt. Tax exempt. I'm going to do both of them. Tax exempt and 501c3. You do not need a 501c3 classification in order to be tax exempt. 501 anything, because there's a ton of 501, C3, 4, 5, 6, there's a lot of them. You set yourself up as a 501 series if you want the donations submitted to your organization to be deductible on the donator's income tax return. In our case, our people aren't donating enough to make it worth their while. I think the threshold is like $5,000. If not, it might be the lowest number. I think it's $500. Okay, so like in the case of a temple, if some individual isn't, if you don't anticipate some individual donating $500 in a year, you don't need it. Okay, you know what? That's in order to be classified so that your donations are tax deductible. That is not, you do not need a 501 series classification to be tax exempt. That's something completely and totally separate. That means that any activity done through this business, and in some cases, any activity, like in California, any activities done for that business, like if you hire a caterer or something, no taxes, because you can't tax God. Pretty simple. Okay. And enough people have sued in enough ways in this country where the Moors can just coast off of what's already been done. If you know how to find it and you're brave enough to apply it, you don't even have to be that bright. This stuff is not that hard. You got to remember who this was set up for. Like my mother said, you know, if they could have had us birthing their babies, they would have. So this stuff can't be that hard. And it's not. Okay, so tax exempt, you do not need a 501c3 to be tax exempt. Certain activities are automatically tax exempt. You just have to submit a form to your state's tax board. In some cases, really, I'm going to get back to you on the federal side, because like I said, I'm just dealing at the state level. California is weird. Okay? Some states require you to get a statement from the federal, the IRS, saying, oh, this, for these purposes listed on their articles, they're tax exempt at the federal level. Some states say, okay, we need that letter saying that for your company in order to be tax exempt. This state's level. California does not have that requirement. Their thing is, if they have a list of entities that are automatically exempt: schools, libraries, civic organizations, charities like Meals on Wheels, and of course, religious organizations. Not churches, not synagogues, not temples, religious organizations. Because everybody on the planet is in some form or fashion represented on this land. So you cannot say specifically which ones. So I could worship purple goats, and as long as I got it written up right, they can't charge me tax for observing my beliefs. Right? Nonprofit. You do not have to be a nonprofit to be tax exempt. Okay? Like I said again, some entities are automatically tax exempt. For instance, if you run a private school, you can charge as much as you like. Up the yin yang. It's tax exempt because of the type of entity it is. Okay? So that's why you can have schools where the teachers make $80,000 a year and it's tax free. If you know how to set, it's a school. They know what they're doing. They're getting over quite nicely, but hopefully they're getting what they're paying for. So, like I said, you do not have to be nonprofit to be tax exempt. It helps. Okay. corporate soul. That's basically what this is. Right? If you've gotten to the point where I want to set up my own corporate template, I'm going to trust Allah and say that you found this video because you've already done it on the organic level. Okay? I see a lot of Moors walking around using names that they've chosen for themselves. That's great for the organic level. When you are dealing with the occupier, apples with apples, so you have to use the stick that your parents acquired for you at the time of your birth to deal with them. Okay? So you can't be Barack Ali, on your corporate documents. You're going to have to be Nate the Negro, okay, on the corporate documents. That's their side, okay? The organic side is Barack Ali. He chose his name based on something, some spirit that took over him and said, this is who you are. He's a Moor. He praises Allah. He's a faithful one, okay? And he prefers to be referred to as Barack. That's fine. But if something happens, I can't drag Barack into court. And somebody has to be held accountable. You set up a corporation to take initial responsibility, but at the end of the day, they're going to look for a signature. And you can't be making stuff up, because then that's called fraud. Okay? Here's the pretty part. You are not liable for whatever Nate the Negro did. You are only his representative, Barack. Okay? So, hopefully you've set up the organic side of it. That's your temple, where people show up every Friday. That's not corporate. You can have that and not have the corporate. Have the corporate and not have the organic. Is that Islam? I'll leave that up to you. That's between you and your God. Anyway, make sure we have the correct definition of corporate soul. I'm looking in my Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, okay? And a little tip on this, you have a good one if you can find the definition for apple cider vinegar in there. Just a little tip. All right, corporation, okay? Read the definition. Okay. Ecclesiastical and lay. In the English law, all corporations, private, are divided into ecclesiastical and lay. The former being such corporations as are composed exclusively of ecclesiastics organized for spiritual purposes, or for administrating property held for religious uses, such as bishops and certain other dignitaries of the church, and formerly abbeys and monasteries. Lay corporations are those composed of laymen and existing for secular or business purposes. This distinction is not recognized in American law. Not recognized in American law. Corporations formed for the purpose of maintaining or propagating religion, or of supporting public religious services according to the rites of particular denominations, and incidentally owning and administrating real and personal property for religious uses, are called religious corporations. Corporate souls. Okay? S-O-L-E. But, okay. As distinct, incidentally owning and administering real and personal property for religious uses are called religious corporations, as distinguished from business corporations. But they are lay corporations and not ecclesiastical in the sense of English law. Okay, we're not in England. Okay, so basically it's saying in England they have ecclesiastic and lay. Ecclesiastic is just ministers, bishops, priests, all those who are like the administrators of a certain religion. Or ministers, not administrators. That AD makes a big difference. Lay corporations in English law add the AD. They're not ministers, they're not working necessarily in a religious capacity, but the corporation they work for might be religious. So that's lay. This definition is saying that distinction isn't made in America. You're either ecclesiastic or business or secular, okay? So in this case, they're called, like they said, religious corporations. Okay. Um, Next is elemonsory and civil. Elemonsory. 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 Okay. Um, Says lay corporations classified as elemonsory. This could be like I said, it's not, the distinction really isn't made in the United States. So I guess this would be, or America, this would be more like along the lines of auxiliary. For instance, I'll give a for instance in a minute. So lay civilization corporations are classified as elemonsory and civil. For the former, elemonsory being such as are created for the distribution of alms or for the administration of charities for purposes falling under the description of charitable in the widest sense, including hospitals, asylums, and colleges. Okay? The latter being organized for facilitating of business transactions and the profit or advantage of the members. Okay? So I just heard that the temple can open up a bank. That's not the temple, though. It is because the temple is doing it, but this isn't for a religious purpose. It's for like storing money and handling financial transactions. It's an auxiliary. So you're like I said, for instance, I just set up Moore Science Temple, California, Incorporated. All right, that's my root, and everything is coming from that root. I mean, absolutely everything, even me. Check it out. My elemonsory is Califa Media for the literature part. Another one might be Califa Law, Califa Canyon Law. That's to help people with their legal issues, a project or whatever. Okay. Another one is Forever Zara, where I guess it'll eventually turn into a gathering place for handicrafts, more handicrafts, because, not to get off track, but if you read Othello, what led to people losing their lives in Othello? It was that handkerchief, a Moorish handkerchief called, alright? Well, it was the central thing, okay? So we need to exploit that. But anyway, so those are all my DBAs or elemonsories, because they are set up to collect profit so I can give it out to other people. And you ain't gotta believe me about giving it out, Go to califamedia.com. You will see on our page, califamedia.com/freebies. Okay? And there you'll see a list of our Caught You Doing Good winners. Alright? Where if we catch you doing good, where you're going above and beyond in this movement, you get something. I don't know what it is. I don't plan it out. It's like Allah just guide you and you get something. Alright? So, Aggregate and Soul. This is all under corporations in my 4th edition Black Law. Okay? Under corporations. Now I'm reading Aggregate and Soul. A corporation soul is one consisting of one person only and his successors in some particular station, who are incorporated by law in order to give them some legal capacity and advantages, particularly that of perpetuity, which in their natural persons they could not have had. In this sense, the sovereign in England is a sole corporation, so is a bishop, so are some deans distinct from their several chapters, and so is every person and vicar. And they got corporate cases listed. A corporation of aggregate is one composed of a number of individuals vested with corporate powers, and a corporation, as the word is used in general and popular speech, and as defined in the head of this title, means a corporation aggregate. Okay. So corporation soul according to this book, because I've read definitions that don't read like that. I like to give examples, because, like I can explain it and give you an example, and I'd rather get to jump to the old part. The Pope is the corporation soul. Okay? That's why if you ever listen to him speak, or you read speeches from past Pope, they never say I. They always say we, because he's not representing himself. He's just a body holding that space. because there's only one pope. You're just holding that position for now. Okay. Corporation aggregate, I guess, would be like the different dioceses. Each diocese. And then it's, I guess, the corporation soul broken into pieces. Okay, as long as you uphold that position of bishop. The line just flows. So in our case, our corporation soul, I love it. Prophet is a genius. He's our corporation. He set up a corporation soul that would outlast him. Right? And then he put up a trust to back it up. And I'm just following his footsteps. So yeah, this is the introduction to the trust videos that should be forthcoming. A lot with me. So he set up a generation skipping trust. The North Science Temple and all its profits, etc., proceeds go into this trust. It's a generation skipping trust. So you benefit from it until you turn 18, at which point you are turned into you become a trustee if you prove yourself worthy to be such. That's where our sheiks and sheikahs come in. Those are trustees. All right. That's why, I know you've probably heard it before, why the prophet called us his children. Set it up for his children with them growing up properly and being put in the position of eventually being trustees for their children. Right? Because the best way to make a trust go away is for the beneficiary to say there isn't one. But the beneficiary has to be over 18 to do that. The man with the genius. Okay? I like to put him where he belongs. He is my grand sheik. Okay? My noble prophet is the CEO and chairman of my temple. Alright? I like this because, and he did it in Illinois. He set himself up as leadership that cannot be assassinated. How you gonna take this man out? He's the head of the corporation. He put himself as the head. You must come to, if you want a charter, you must come to I, the prophet. Because I have them to get out. Okay. So if they're yours to get out, you're the head guy, right? So I'm gonna list you as such. Illinois has an interesting rule called the Dead Man's Act, where if he said it and he wrote it down somewhere, nobody can contest it, and it can't be overturned. You gotta respect the wishes of the dead. I haven't found this act anywhere else in the United States. I'm just like I said, Illinois. Give it up to the prophet, the man of the genius. Okay, so he's your leader. The sheiks, sheikesses, all around. Those are the trustees. And until your children are the beneficiaries. So until you prove yourself adept at being able to at least be available to be in the position of a trustee, then you're a child, I guess. Right? But my thing is, you reach a certain level and I'll treat you like a child. But, I won't treat you like a child. Okay. Temple buildings. Okay. Religious corporations, as far as statutes go. Corporate or the state is hands off because the Fed is hands off. First Amendment, freedom of religion. Okay. And like I said, there's too many religions represented here for them to specifically say only this select list is protected. Temple buildings are private unless you exceed a certain income. Okay. That's why temples don't have to file tax returns. I will keep good records, just because, if you want to keep good records, because if you're going to set yourself up as a corporation, act as a corporation, and you never know what might happen. So just make sure you keep the good records, and as long as you don't exceed whatever the threshold is in your state, you don't have to report anything. And the easiest way to avoid ever even coming close, so you don't even have to keep track of it, is just set up all these elementaries, right? All these DBAs. Like this guy does. This company does publications. This company does child care. This company does education. This is legal. This is culinary. Just make sure everything's broken up to enough where none of them are ever going to be able to reach that threshold. And the temple ain't making a dime, right? Because everything goes to support that DBA. And if you're doing it correctly, there's nothing to send to the temple. for the temple is supported by, I guess it's not the root. Temple is the root and the trunk, and then the DBA is all the branches, right? So the branches are doing their little leafy thing, collecting all these nutrients that go back to the trunk. Trunk doesn't see that much sunlight if you think about it, right? But it sure does benefit from it because of all the leaves that are on its branches. Okay? And that's it for that. So, yeah, like I said, that was just to cover a few basic definitions because you got to be clear on what you're doing before you do it. Okay? So we covered what? Articles of incorporation, statement of information, which in some states those two might be combined in your articles of incorporation. Tax exemption, nonprofit status, the IRS 501c3 classification, and how you don't need it. Right? I'll actually, let me take that back. You don't need it unless you're like trying to apply for some huge giant grants. Alright? And then in that case, you would need to set up a template to do it. You would set up like, okay, what grant are we going for? Right? Oh, we want to get a grant. UNIFEM. I love UNIFEM. We want to get the UN to fund us to fund our project that'll keep some cultural aspect of ourselves going. Which this is actually a real program. So they require a 501c3 classification to even look at your application. So what you do is you have your corporation that you set up for your organic template. That's just a nonprofit, okay? No 501c3 classification. In my case, I want to bring back crochet, okay? So what you do is you set up a corporation, More Science Temple, California Crochet, and get that a 501c3 classification. There's your stick to deal with the dirt, alright? And with that, I hear rustling, so I guess I gotta cut this short. So with that, I say peace and love.